go. It is now time for This Week in Jewish History. In 1611 in Krakow, Poland, Mendel Markowitz was the first Jew to put locks on a bagel. Now this is just since they started keeping records, so someone may have done it sooner.
That's true. Well, I guess you got to call a locksmith.
All right, hello there.
All right.
All right, now, very important segment. Joining us, we have our New York Bureau Chief, Chris Edling, to tell us about the most pressing stories confronting the Jewish people. Chris, how are you?
I'm doing very well. How are you both doing?
We're talking.
We're talking this week. What's going on this week?
You may have heard about the story. It's a local New York story, but it's making headlines across the country. The Moyles in New York City are getting into trouble with the New York City Board of Health. There's a part of the circumcision ritual which has been reportedly spreading herpes to infants. And the New York City Board of Health is, of course, stepping in. They're very concerned about this. And they would like to require Moyles to give a parental consent form before performing this ritual, so the parents are aware of the risk of possible infection. And the Moyles, of course, are saying, you know, this is absurd. This is our religious tradition. You have no right to get involved.
When they do the circumcision, so what I understand, it's called suction by mouth?
Right, that's correct. So among very Orthodox Jews, there's a way that you're supposed to extract blood from the wound of the circumcision. Now, a lot of people today, and actually for quite a long time now, use a sterilized glass tube to do this. But there are other people who interpret the rabbinical law in a more traditional way, which requires them to suck the blood from the wound with their mouths. The Moyle does it with his own mouth, as opposed to using a glass tube.
Wow, he does it with his mouth, and that's how the baby gets herpes.
Right. Now, it should be mentioned that it's not the case that hundreds of babies are being infected with herpes because of this procedure, but enough have been infected that the New York City Board of Health is taking note.
One is enough.
One is enough. Well, I mean, the opening to one of the articles was like 2 babies dead and 1 injured, and you think it's going to be a car accident or something. You don't think it's going to be a circumcision. I mean, that doesn't sound good, Chris. And it also, I also heard that they're going to try to make a law about against the suction by mouth, but that no one's going to follow.
This has actually been discussed for quite some time, and not only in America, but in other countries as well, where circumcisions are performed by Moyles, because there's actually disagreement amongst ultra-conservative Jews themselves about whether this procedure of suction by mouth should even be practiced at all, because the original purpose of it was, in fact, ironically, to prevent infection. You know, the medicine of the time, hundreds of years ago, they thought it would help prevent infection, but in fact now, we know that that's not the case. In fact, the opposite is often true.
So why aren't they tested prior to performing the circumcision is the question.
Why aren't the Moyles getting herpes tested?
If anything, that would actually be possibly a further violation of their rights. The New York City Board of Health is trying to institute this parental consent waiver, I think, is something of a compromise, because they don't really have the jurisdiction to ban the procedure. They may not have the jurisdiction to require these Moyles to get herpes tests either. So requiring the consent form is a bit of a middle ground.
All right, Chris, we know we got one more story. Tell us about it. What is the other story confronting the people, the Jewish people?
So this other story is also out of New York, in the Manhattan Beach neighborhood of Brooklyn. There are a series of pedestrian stoplights. You may have seen these also in Los Angeles. It's not a normal stoplight, but just a pedestrian flashing yellow light. And if you push the signal, it turns red so that people can cross the street. Now, there are a series of these along Oriental Avenue, I believe, in Manhattan Beach, and the Orthodox Jewish community is claiming that, you know, on the Sabbath, we can't use these. We're not allowed to push the button because that would constitute sparking a fire, which of course is not allowed on the Sabbath. So, yeah, the argument goes, they would like to have normal traffic lights, which flash automatically, installed at these intersections instead of the pedestrian lights.
So this is it's in a pretty religious community, and they have to now walk well out of their way. Is that correct? In order to get home.
That's correct. They're claiming that, of course, Manhattan Beach has a very substantial Jewish community, and specifically an ultra-Orthodox community. And they're claiming that by not being able to operate this type of street light, we have to walk several blocks out of our way, and it's very inconsiderate and it's impractical of the city to have installed this type of light in this neighborhood along the street, which admittedly is not, it's not Queens Boulevard. I mean, it's not the most busy street.
And they can't protest because that would be sparking a fire.
Could be. All right, well, we're out of time, Chris. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. New York Bureau Chief Chris Edling. We will be right back.